Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Here's why the Duggar siblings haven't adopted. The Counting on siblings have lived their lives in the public eye. With the show canceled, followers have had to get updates from social media. Throughout the show, there was always talk about growing their families. After all, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar welcomed 19 children. The Duggar sisters who married off started their families pretty quickly, but it seems the Duggar sons were more ambitious as many of them had honeymoon babies. Having as many children as possible seemed to be the goal, as the Duggars don't believe in birth control. They think babies are a blessing from God and will continue to welcome them as long as they can, no matter the risk. A few of the siblings have discussed adoption, though Jessa Duggar was the most vocal about wanting to adopt. However, she has 5 children now, so it's unclear whether that will come to fruition for the third Duggar daughter. Why haven't the Duggars adopted? Despite adoption being discussed, it was never a hot topic among the Duggar family. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar didn't push for it to be a part of their teachings. Why haven't the Duggars adopted? During a recent appearance by Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo on the Unplanned podcast, the couple spilled the beans about Bill Guthar's warped views on adoption. What does that have to do with the Duggars and adoption? Bill Guthart was the head of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, and Jim Bob and Michelle raised the kids in his church. They followed his guidelines and enforced the rules with the children. What Jinger said made sense about why the Duggars haven't adopted any children and continue to have more of their own. Bill Gothard believed adoption could open the door to evil in your home. By not knowing the history of the child or their family, there was a possibility that curses and other ungodly things could be brought upon your life. She acknowledged his warped view when discussing adoption. What about Tyler Hutchins? Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar took Tyler Hutchins into their home and raised him with the other children. Tyler is the son of Michelle's niece. They were given the boy when his grandmother, Michelle's sister, could no longer care for him. He has since moved back in with his grandparents, as the Duggars relinquished custody of him last year. The Duggars haven't discussed why he left or what caused the sudden change, but the timing was just weeks after the Duggar documentary on Prime Video premiered. Whether any of the Duggar siblings will adopt remains to be seen, but at least the reason they haven't has been revealed. When people think of the Duggars, the image of a massive, bustling family often springs to mind. As stars of the long-running reality show 19 Kids and Counting and later Counting On, the Duggar family became synonymous with large Christian households, strong conservative values, and a belief in multiplying their numbers to fulfill God's plan. Led by Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, the family had 19 biological children, promoting a quiverful ideology, which encourages large families to act as God's warriors in an ever-secularizing world. Given this background, many people have wondered why the next generation of Duggars hasn't adopted children, particularly as some of the older siblings have started their own families. With their deep-rooted religious beliefs, strong emphasis on family, and significant financial means from years of reality television, adoption might seem like a natural path for them. However, as of yet, none of the Duggar siblings have taken that step. So why is that? 1. Emphasis on biological growth. One key reason for the lack of adoptions among the Duggar siblings lies in the family's commitment to biological growth. The Duggar family adheres to the quiverful belief, which teaches that Christian families should have as many children as God grants them. For Jim Bob and Michelle, their mission was to birth and raise their own children, viewing each one as a gift from God. This belief strongly centers around biological procreation, which might explain why the next generation, following in their parents' footsteps, has chosen to focus on having biological children first. Many of the older Duggar children have already started having children of their own. For instance, Josh and Anna Duggar have 7 children, while Jessa and Ben Seawolf are parents to 4. In their circles, the focus remains largely on expanding their biological families as their primary means of fulfilling what they view as a divine calling. 2. Religious beliefs and the sanctity of family structure. In addition to their belief in biological procreation, the Duggars' religious convictions play a critical role in their decision-making regarding adoption. Some conservative Christian circles emphasize the sanctity of the traditional family structure. the husband and wife raising biological offspring. Adoption is not inherently opposed in these beliefs, but the idea of nurturing their own can take precedence. This does not mean they are against adoption, but rather that the importance of raising their own biological children is highlighted first and foremost. Moreover, the notion of adoption can bring in complexities that some within this ideology may feel challenge their view of family. Adoption can involve navigating past traumas or biological family ties, which might not always align with the Duggars' vision of a tightly knit, homeschooled, and faith-driven family unit. 3. Cultural and social influence. The Duggars also exist in a unique social and cultural bubble. Growing up in a conservative fundamentalist Christian environment, their worldview is shaped by the communities they belong to. In these communities, adoption may not be as commonly practiced or discussed. Large families are often encouraged to grow through natural means, and the idea of adopting may be seen as an alternative to biological childbearing, not as a complement to it. Culturally, the Duggars have been taught to lean on God's provision when it comes to their family size. The idea of God will give us as many children as we're meant to have may lead them to focus on biological reproduction over adoption, seeing each pregnancy as a gift divinely appointed, rather than seeking out children through other means. 4. Practical and logistical concerns. Adoption is a beautiful but complex process. While many people choose adoption out of a deep desire to provide a home for a child in need, it's not always a straightforward path. For the Duggar siblings, many of whom are in the early stages of building their families, the idea of managing adoption alongside having biological children could be overwhelming. Adoption often involves financial costs, lengthy legal processes, and emotional challenges that these young parents might feel ill-prepared to handle at this point in their lives. For instance, some Duggar siblings are still relatively young and financially building their own futures. Despite their fame and reality TV background, not all of them are as financially stable as one might expect. Supporting large biological families may already be a financial strain for some, leaving less room for considering adoption at this time. Additionally, adopting from certain countries or even domestically often comes with extensive home studies, legal hurdles, and sometimes years of waiting. For a family like the Duggars, who emphasize traditional homeschooling and close family ties, the disruption that such processes might cause could be daunting. 5. The weight of public scrutiny. One cannot overlook the influence of fame and public opinion on the Duggar family. Having lived much of their lives in the spotlight, the siblings are no strangers to judgment from viewers and the media. Adoption, especially in the public eye, can be an even more scrutinized process, with critics waiting to pounce on any missteps or perceived mishandlings. The Duggar children have witnessed firsthand how their parents were critiqued and examined over every choice they made, and that kind of pressure could be enough to give them pause when considering an emotionally charged decision like adoption. This scrutiny may be compounded by the controversy surrounding the Duggar family in recent years. With Josh Duggar's legal troubles and the cancellation of Counting On, the family has faced a challenging public image. In such a climate, bringing in an adopted child could be seen as another point of criticism or speculation, adding to an already heavy burden. 6. The journey is not over yet. It's also essential to consider that while none of the Duggar siblings have adopted yet, that doesn't mean they never will. Several of the older Duggar children have spoken positively about the idea of adoption, and some have mentioned it as a possibility in the future. Jessa Duggar-Seawold, for instance, has expressed interest in adoption, saying that she and her husband Ben would consider it down the line after having their biological children.